Hello, everybody. Welcome to Talking Tennis. We're almost late, and here we go. Joining me today, Jack. I also have Shahari. How are you doing? Is it Shahari? Is that how you pronounce your name? Sorry, it's the
It's
first time.
Srihari, but you'll get a hang of it.
Shrihari. I've got it now.
Oh yeah, perfect. Yeah. How are
Nice
you,
to.
Jack?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Shrihari. Yeah, this is our first time talking, of course, right? About we
Yep.
know each other sort of through popcorn tennis,
Mm-hmm.
Twitter, etc. How you doing? Are
Yes.
you excited for this one?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Pretty happy with the results so far, both in Vienna and Basel. Medvedev's playing some amazing tennis and Felix as well. But Alcaraz is just, completely out of sorts. A lot of errors. And, I don't think he's at the races today, if the first set's anything to go by.
Yeah, it should be noted. I've literally just got in from coaching, so I've not seen any of this. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know how Carlos has
Right.
been playing. So you're saying it's probably more to do with Carlos and Felix?
Yeah, so three double faults from Alcaraz in the first set and just 11 points, one on second serves. And
Right.
from what I remember, quite a few unforced errors, especially in the eighth game where he was serving. He got broken to love. I think all of the points he lost just through unforced errors.
Yeah, I've seen
And
that. Is that 11% on second serve? Sorry. Wow. Okay. Jesus. Yeah, that's
yeah,
bad.
yeah.
One interesting observation I made, and you might be able to tell me if I'm right, and it's something I was talking about the other day in the last episode, is that Alcaraz's serve still not the best placement wise, but
I agree.
we see him hitting first serves that win him the point on the next shot basically because it's fast enough that he can take care of business with a crazy ground stroke. So I'm seeing 80% first serves won, zero
Mhm.
aces, and then when the second serves going in, he can't cover himself. He's losing the point. Is that a fair assessment? So his serve's still not great, even though he's winning a lot of first serve points.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree with that completely because Felix hit six aces in the entire first set, and obviously he's a lot better when it comes to placement. Some of his serves are just unreturnable. We saw that against Djokovic as well at the Laver Cup, and I do tend to agree that Alcaraz just doesn't have that placement yet. Of course, he's just 19. There's so much that he can improve, already in his game, and he's already this good. He's a Grand Slam champion, won a multiple Masters titles as well. But yeah, the thing is, I remember he's changed his service motion in mid 2021.
Yeah.
The racket was pointing more upwards, and he was better at placing it as well. He would serve quite a few uh, aces down the tee and even unreturnable serves. But like you said, a lot of his serves now, especially the ones that tend to bail him out, are body serves really.
Yeah.
And it takes a really good return to just like completely nullify the effect, especially take someone like Djokovic on these courts. I think it would be a nightmare for Alcaraz and Felix. Also, we know, on his day. I mean, he's a player. A lot depends on what kind of mood he is on the day, and I think this is the first time in his career, him being 22, he's shown consistent high level of tennis for a stretched period of time. This is
Yeah.
his third consecutive tournament, and he's won the last two he's played. He's in the semis here, halfway through the final. Looks like he's going to beat the world number one again.
Mhm.
So yeah, Felix. I mean, all said and done, I think he's a really good return, and that's why Alcaraz is just the moment really struggling on serve against him. And
Yeah.
I think the scoreline's a bit flattering from what I saw in the first set.
Right. Oh, for Carlos, it should have been worse than 6-3.
Yeah, I think it should have been around. He should have been broken at 1-2 or maybe even 2-3. The few chances that Felix had, obviously errors from his side as well. But he did crank up his level, and then he just completely slammed the door shut on Carlos. And Carlos just held from 15-30. That's a bit positive for him so far.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, let's see how this set goes. And I think it's quite unlikely that Carlos loses this in straight sets. If he does lose, I mean, he can still win. I'm not
Let's
saying he
remember
won't.
that. Remember
Yeah.
that streak that was beaten by David Goffin, of course. Alcaraz on like a
Hmm.
60 match streak where he didn't lose in straight sets, right? So
Yeah, the last time before that was against Hugo Gaston last year in Bercy. That's a
yes,
really long streak, and he was
and of course he was five
many
love
times
up.
very close.
He was
Yeah,
five in
against
that second
Corda and
set.
Monte Carlo. And against Musetti in Hamburg, he was really close to losing in straight sets. And even Djokovic in Madrid, I should say.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, sturdy love for Felix. I don't know if your stream is behind mine or ahead of mine. So right now
At the
it's sturdy
moment,
love for
yeah,
Felix.
I'm watching Felix deliver his first serve out wide and he just missed it.
Oh, okay. So you're a bit ahead of me. That's fine.
That's not too bad for her. I think we
Yeah.
can work with that. Oh, he didn't miss that first serve. Why am I doubting him? Of course, it was an ace out wide. I should have said. I was gonna talk a little bit to the viewers about Felix indoors and just sort of elaborate on what you just said there, Srihari, of his 2 consecutive tournaments indoors, winning both of them this year in general, without a doubt. Probably not without a doubt, actually, Djokovic is up there as well, but probably the best indoor player going, because he's won 3 titles. They've all been on indoor hard courts. Reached another final. That was an indoor hard court. His serving percentages, so first serve, he's got a 3% uptake in first serve indoors compared to outdoors on hard courts. Incredibly surprising. Like, you look at Djokovic, it's like 0.6%. It's really not much. And then you look at Felix, he benefits from the steadiness of the conditions. He likes the ball to not be sort of blowing about. Likes the speed of the indoor courts as well. There's just so much that benefits his game compared to others. He's going to be so dangerous in the ATP finals. And I did think he was the favourite going into this, but I guess you're saying Alcaraz a little bit out of sorts. It's actually been more one-sided than I thought it would be, to be fair. But I did think he deserved to be the slight favourite, sort of 8-11 or something in odds.
Of course. Yeah, and he's just missed another drop shot. That's another part of his game that's quite fallen off. I don't know if that's law of averages, really, because it's been so good. It's won him, I think, until the US Open, probably won him like 90% of the points whenever he did drop shot. I should say that, especially I watched that match against Djokovic. It was so frustrating for me as a Novak fan to see, every time he would drop shot, he would, more or less win the point eventually. There could be a shot or two after, but he disguises it so well, and he also executes it really well. It's love 30 now for Felix.
You forgive me for eating, by the way, sure. I'm starving. I've not.
Oh no, that's okay. All good. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, love 30, of course. Yeah, I can talk through this point. Again, first serve into Felix's forehand. I mean, it's the last thing you want to do is give him time on a forehand return. Go straight deep, back down the court, back down the middle of the court, and love 40. Yeah. Sorry, I'm spoiling it for you, Shakira.
Oh no, that's fine. It was just love 40 for me. I mean, Carlos missed that backhand. And yeah, another reason why Felix loves indoor hard courts is that he takes the ball so early. That could help him.
Oh my God! You literally, just as you said that, Shakira, watch this point. I mean,
right. That was just so. I want to say Djokovic-esque, but it is. I mean, it's just amazing. I don't think.
Case in point,
he's here to win. What's fascinating is that 3 of the 4 semifinalists here are 2000 born.
Are they? Wow.
Born? Yeah, there's Felix, there's Alcaraz, and Holger Rune, and then there's RBA. Yeah.
The veteran amongst the pack.
Yeah, I mean, that's as we speak, Medvedev is serving for the match. He's just broken Dimitrov for the second time in this second set. That is another match where the scoreline is really flattering. If you want to look at the return points, I don't know if we're really covering that match, but we're in hurt to just talk about it. Return points won 30 for Medvedev, 3-0, and 6 for Dimitrov.
Wow, Jesus.
Yeah.
What's the score?
6-4, 5-2, and Medvedev is about to serve for the match.
He makes it look so easy. I was talking about this yesterday, how he just blew team off the court 6-3, 6-3. Yannick Sinner 6-4, 6-2 as well, of course. I'm forgetting that. These players that are in veins of form, and Medvedev just rocks up playing 50% of his game and makes it look like he doesn't have to do anything to beat them.
Sometimes I know when he can he's quite a streaky player in that aspect, and when he's in the mood to win, he's just you just cannot beat him.
He's unplayable.
He's faced just one break point up until this match. At this point in this match, throughout this tournament, he faced only that one break point at 4-3, 30-40 against Team, which he again snuffed out with a serve out wide. It's barely been troubled on serve, which is really encouraging to see because he's had the serving yips, the most double faults on the men's tour, around 214 or something going into this tournament, if I'm not wrong.
I didn't know it was the most, actually. That's interesting. Sure, I knew it was a problem in more important matches, but I didn't realize it was as bad as that.
Yeah, he's comfortably number one this season on the men's tour.
By the way, lovely hot shot from Felix again. Sorry to interrupt, but you'll need to watch this one. It's good.
Oh, no, I mean, you weren't interrupting. We are covering this match.
That's very true.
Yeah. Yeah. Whoa, yeah, that was an amazing forehand down the line.
That's a nice segue into something I was talking about on my podcast the other day, actually. I feel like Felix's game indoors, serving is the meat and potatoes, right? The thing that just keeps him afloat. He's not been broken for who knows how long. And I don't know if he's been broken in his last couple of matches, but it's rare anyway.
I don't think so either, yeah.
And then the forehand is the magic. And it doesn't go underrated. I think people think, no, Felix's forehand is great. But you see him putting together return games with shots like that, with passing shots like on the run, with just forehands out of nowhere. Obviously, the inside-in forehand is great, but I think people don't appreciate just how difficult it is to hit it with that much power consistently from that corner of the court. I think he does it better than anybody else on the inside.
Yeah, they don't. It's just, with Felix, until this year, obviously this year he is definitely shown up as a big match player. We can definitely call him that at this point. Took Medvedev to 5 sets, had match point as well in Australia. You cannot call that a choke really, because I think Medvedev really dug in, to get past him. Only player to push Nadal at RG, obviously aside from Djokovic, who was a set point away from pushing it to 5 sets. But Felix had Nadal on the ropes there. And then, disappointing in Wimbledon and US Open the way he went out, especially at the US Open, losing 4-4 and 4 to Draper. I think that's you don't expect him to go out like that. But ever since that loss, and of course I think there was another off loss to Bautista Agut in some tournament, I don't remember where. Was it Astana? I'm not sure.
It was something like Astana. It was definitely a 500.
It was 6-4, 7-6. I remember that. But other than that, he's just been phenomenally good since then.
I was going to say that's been the only dip indoors, really, because he also played Alcaraz. People must keep in mind he played Alcaraz in the Davis Cup, which is also indoors, and beat him there. He beat Novak in the Laver Cup, albeit Novak was a little hampered on serve, I would say, but I still thought Felix's level,
an amazing level for sure.
Exactly, yeah. He still brought a phenomenal level, and we all know Novak can win matches like that, even when he's not, serving his best. It doesn't matter. You still have to beat him. So yeah, it's worth keeping in mind that Felix. I feel Felix has earned his spot as second favorite for the ATP Finals, to be honest.
Yeah, that's a decent estimate. I should agree if he does end up winning Basel. That's 3 indoor titles in a row. Going into Bercy, really interesting because you have so many. Medvedev's won. I was gonna say I'm probably underrating Medvedev, to be fair. All right. He's also slowly looking, close to his best. If this tournament's anything to go by, best tournament he's played this year so far. Wasn't that convincing in Los Cabos, I would say. A little up and down there. It was down a break, I think, to Kecmanovic in the semis, and not the strongest field, but the players he's beaten here at that two in succession. Team Sinner, Dimitrov, and now it'll be one of either Shapovalov or Coric who have beaten him, by the way, before.
Coric will be a tough matchup for him as well. It's kind of like him playing RBA, right? And Pablo Carnabusta, just crazy good backhand that can match Medvedev's. It could be tough. Yeah. By the way, just interject with a 40-30 at 2-1 at the moment for Auger-Aliassime. Just got the stat up in the broadcast there. 90% first serve points won. And that's, as I say, the bread and butter, the meat and potatoes behind Felix's success indoors. It's just been so good. He's placing it so well. That's the thing.
Yes. Just 67 67 is not that bad, I guess.
Not awful. It's not great indoors, I would say.
Right. Indoors, yeah. That just, would highlight, 3-1 now for Felix. That would just go to highlight Alcaraz's, sort of hampered serving, I would say, hampered in a way that it's not fully molded. It's not 100%, as to where it should be. That I would say, because people love to compare him and Nadal when he was the same age. I would say in that aspect, just that aspect, they're similar. Obviously, Nadal has never, at that age especially, never really served anywhere close to how fast Carlos serves. But
Yeah.
it's almost like Nadal would just like, he didn't really have a fully developed serve. He would just throw the ball in to start the point.
That's starting point, exactly.
When he was 19 or 20, but you wouldn't see that with Carlos. It's just that he needs to work on his placement. I really would want to see him change his service motion from what it is now. I think we've seen that with Thiem as well before, when he would just open his racket face a bit more on his serve to go out wide with the kick serve. It was a weapon for a while until players started to predict that and know exactly where he's going and how he's going on his serve. And you see him, especially now, he's sort of tinkered with it and he goes more up the tee or even down the tee, especially from the ad side.
Yeah, because I mean, I would definitely relay the sentiment that Carlos relies on that serve as well, right? He goes for the massive kicker out wide on clay, especially, and then he's kind of left a little exposed sometimes on hard because it's not going to have the same effect, especially when you're playing people with backhands like Novak and Coric is on the mind now. Coric even Felix can take the return early, and you're not going to get away with a kick serve like that over and over again on this surface. So that's true. I agree.
Obviously, with Felix, people thought, especially early on in his career, that clay would be his best surface. That's far from the truth from what we see. He's been really good on grass. He has a quarterfinal at Wimbledon, and he has a couple of finals on grass as well. Both of them coming in Stuttgart, if I'm not wrong. And also, he played a really good semifinal against Ugo Humbert in Halle last year. And those two, they've, I think, already played on every level possible on grass. They played in Halle. I think they played in another 250 and at Wimbledon 2019, which obviously wasn't really close. Ugo ran away with that.
That's interesting.
But that's it looks like Ugo is also on the rise in a way. He did lose to Holger Rune a few rounds earlier. That's not really a shame. Holger Rune's also playing some really good tennis. A bit under the radar he is at the moment, I would say. Definitely, because yesterday I did check the score to see that he beat Arthur Rinderknecht pretty comfortably, 7-0 in the tiebreaker, and Rinderknecht has a big serve from what I've seen. So that's quite impressive. And the way he beat Steph as well in Stockholm, I think just start to finish, amazing performance.
Amazing. Yeah, incredible. We were talking to Isabel on Talking Tennis yesterday, and she did underrate Rune a bit in it. She admitted herself, she's not watched much tennis since the US Open, and I feel like there are a lot of people that might be in the same boat that aren't aware of what Rune is doing right now, because you watch him striking his backhand the way he is. He's playing it. I think he's playing it more aggressively than maybe any other player. It reminds me a lot of Sasha Zverev, to be honest. The way he attacks it, more so than Novak, I would say. Novak and Medvedev. Medvedev more so, obviously happy to sit back and put the backhand into play and let the other people make the mistake. Rune really, really going after it and bluting the ball back to Tsitsipas's backhand and really making him look like a second-rate player. It was a very polished performance.
Yep. Of course, Tsitsipas wasn't at his best, granted, but I think, Holger Rune was just excellent. The same, similar to how he was against Zverev in Munich earlier this year. Another title which he did end up winning. It'll be interesting to see maybe a Felix versus Holger Rune if the match plays out the way it has so far. That is Felix against Carlos. It looks like Felix is going to end up winning this. I don't. But Carlos is quite notorious for coming. He's quite notorious for coming back, from the dead. Literally, having no business, winning some of the matches he's won this year. The one against Ramos Vinolas at RG. A few others come to mind as well.
Yeah. De Minaur in Barcelona, right?
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah, 7-6, 6-5, and that forehand pickup.
That was when he was an absolute joke. Exactly, absolute joke.
That's insane. Yeah, that's another match. Also, again, I would say against Djokovic too, in Madrid. Novak had quite a few break points, 4 or 5, or even 4 on the third set.
Yeah, obviously that third set went to a tiebreak. Oh,
Love
we
30.
should just point out love 30. Yeah, on Auger-Aliassime's serve 3-2.
Yeah.
Alcaraz with nothing particularly special there. Auger-Aliassime came in off the back of a pretty odd ball, I would say, and then that other one he just made a forehand error. So hopefully, I would imagine he rights the ship given his form.
Let's see what happens here.
More Canadian roasting from Ghost there in the comments. I guess that just about confirms that Carlitos isn't playing as
Felix,
good
what
as
have
he
you
is.
done to my car? Okay, 15:30.
15-30, yeah, great serve again from Auger-Aliassime. That's what I mean by him righting the ship. He seems to be delivering serves when he needs to. So the chances of Alcaraz coming back, I don't know. He'd have to do something completely different with his serve, I think.
Yeah, he has to. I don't think Felix is going away, but Carlos, he's done this with so many players, so I wouldn't count him out just yet.
Yeah, exactly. Great 1-2 punch there from Auger-Aliassime again. Never going to make the mistake on that forehand inside out. Does feel like when his forehand's on, oh my god.
Yeah,
Not many people can hang with
he
him.
snuffed out so many chances against Novak as well at the Laver Cup, exactly like this.
Yeah.
Which is why people were so quick to say, "Oh, Novak was injured, that's why he won." But okay, he was a bit hampered. But like you mentioned earlier, how many times has Novak managed to win such matches, even though he's not 100%? Felix really took it out of his racket. Novak was even up a break early in the match, early in the first set.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a really good match from him. Again, indoor hardcore doesn't really matter what the speed is. I felt the courts at the O2 Arena played quite slowly this year, very unlike how it's been historically. Obviously,
Yeah, it
at
was
the
quick.
ATP Finals for more than a decade there, courts have been relatively quick.
Yeah.
Okay, 40-30, that was a really good point.
It was, yeah. I actually thought Felix had messed it up there. However, it made no mistake on the last volley. I thought somehow Carlitos would go into max speed and track that one down. However, just enough angle on it to erase the danger. Now 40-30, looking pretty good again for Felix. Prediction coming true about him righting the ship. It's really good to see him, it's not like he's done this for a while, to be fair, but he did used to have that kind of reputation of, he could mess up matches that should have been his, from winning positions, sometimes squandering that. It just doesn't happen anywhere near as often now. Kind of feels like he's a good front runner nowadays.
Yeah, I cannot really recall any particular match where that's happened. Last year, I remember that match against Karatsev at the Australian Open. That was a tough watch from 2 sets up.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good example.
Close. Yeah, so close to making his first major quarterfinal, and he went on to make the second week for 4 consecutive slams from there.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously the 2 sets to love defeat the year afterward felt completely different. It wasn't, losing to Medvedev was never really in his hands.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, that's true. Medvedev was just, that's in a way like saying, oh, Sinner was 2 sets up against Djokovic, and then he let that match slip.
Exactly. If you watched the match, you'd know exactly what happened. You're quite right.
Had too many people coming up to me and telling me especially when I talk highly of Sinner, oh really, you're still rating him after that loss to Djokovic at Wimbledon. I don't even know if they watched it, and especially as one particular person I know, he kept saying, no, I know Djokovic played really well, but Sinner shouldn't be losing.
No.
I don't. You just cannot say anything to these people, I guess. But,
I know. Yeah, there's not much reasoning with them, right?
Yeah. Okay. Felix did hold eventually.
Little bit of a horror show there from Alcaraz. You don't really see him miss short balls like that.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen often. First point, to be fair, was a great serve out wide, and we were talking about him needing a few more free points in that regard. Gotta agree with Ghost.
I don't know why he went for too much on that. It's not needed.
I know. Yeah, I definitely agree with Ghost. Although I prefer playing on clay myself. But yeah. fast courts are definitely better for
I'm
watching
rooting
for
for
me.
Felix. He's one of my favorite players. But just for the sake of like prolonging this show, I hope Carlos
Yes.
doesn't go.
Yeah.
It is a nice conversation for sure. It would be a shame if it looks like Felix another idea. It's 15:30.
You're quite right. Yeah, we're on the precipice here. I've got to say for Harry, it's 15:30.
Oof. Carlos just looks helpless, really.
Yeah, again, like
Hapless,
anything,
I should say. It's just so unlike him.
anything. Yeah, any of the serves that are going close to Felix's racket, he's getting back in court with interest. There's a great example: backhand cross court, and then Carlos pushes the backhand down the line long, and we're at 15:40.
Oh
now.
no, this is.
That's interesting. Does my hair keep getting shorter? I don't see it. There's Isabel watching as well. Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you, Isabel. To be honest, I'm enjoying the Felix streak. Long may it continue in some ways. I really want a competitor for Novak at the ATP Finals is my main incentive, I would say, because I'm scared that although Novak obviously it's been 7 years since he won the ATP Finals, right? So maybe I should be giving Medvedev more credit. I don't know, but yeah, just to have more people in the mix rather than it just being Novak and Daniel would be great.
That's kind of the aura Novak is built. Even though he goes into a tournament, he's not won for a really long time. Say Roland Garros, right? It's one of he's a lot of times he's gone in as like sometimes a top favorite even. Like even last year when I was just hoping he would avoid Rafa if he used to win it. But everyone was like, I think he's seriously underrating Novak. Especially, it's juice now, which is good. Everyone said I was underrating Novak significantly. And I had a bit of hope that the match would at least be 4 sets in Rafa's favor after that Rome final.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was just something else. So, I still think, of course, Novak is, having him as the top favorite for a tournament like the ATP Finals, obviously not the same as doing so for Roland Garros because, a tournament he's won 5 times and one of the best indoor hardcore players to ever exist on the men's tour. It's a badness.
Yeah, I'll keep people in touch here. Bad forehand from Carlos into the net. Another break point to save. After Felix, to be fair, skied a return and it was pretty much nowhere near the court. I can't imagine he'll make the same mistake again given his form. First serve into the net though, and the second serve points have been getting eaten alive by him throughout the match, so I'm not hopeful. I'll talk you through this point just because it's quite an important one. Basically match point, as the commentators normally say. Second serve out wide, backhand return down the line. Forehands cross court. Carlos is trying to go down the line with an aggressive backhand. Gets the chance to play an aggressive forehand, and Felix misses the pass by what couldn't have been more than a few inches. Very, very close to securing the double break and potentially the match.
Yep. It's juice again. Interesting. I think if Carlos gets out of this...
I was going to say, just to answer Isabel's question, it's not a question, I guess, but could Felix beat Novak? I think he could. He has obviously beat.
I don't think it's a long shot at all, honestly.
Yeah.
I think he definitely has the game to do so. Sure, Novak was a bit hampered at the Labour Cup, but if he brings in this kind of level at that tournament, you just never know. And there's a possibility that you could have Djokovic, Nadal, Felix, and Medvedev in the same group. That would just be bonkers crazy. If that were to happen, I would not complain about it. Okay, another breakpoint with Felix.
But interesting the slice brought up there. I can't imagine that's a go-to tactic for Felix, but interesting to see it working there. I'll talk the listeners through this breakpoint here. First serve for Carlos, down the tee. Felix gets out as a let. Sorry, we'll start again. One more time. It's got to be better place, surely, Shahari. I think if it goes to a rally, that's it. First serve going... attempted to go wide, but it was long, so it's a second serve. It's looking like curtains, possibly. A second serve into the body. Felix maybe mishit the backhand return there. He's on the back foot now. Carlos with a slice approach, but Felix rifles it at him, and Carlos can't get it back into play. It's 5-2 with the double break.
Okay, just a game away, and Felix hasn't even faced breakpoint yet. So if it is to close this out, uh, I think everybody in general should start to take him more seriously at this point, because he would go 3-0 up over Alcaraz in the head to head. He leads Yannick Sinner 2-0 as well. I'm not sure if he's. I do know that he beat Musetti in Dijon when they played in the semis. Uh, so, yeah, I think these are some ominous signs for
Felix
everybody on this
has.
one.
I didn't realize Felix has only faced 2 break points in his last 6 matches.
Yeah.
Those weren't converted by Gasquet. Dan Evans did manage to convert the sole break point he had. So yeah, over his last 8 matches, right? Yeah, he's only been broken once.
Oof.
Phenomenal, and I don't really think people can underrate that, but seriously, he's holding serve so easily,
Yeah,
and that's why he's
it still seems
definitely got a chance
Yeah.
against Novak.
Yeah, I mean, I was having a discussion even yesterday. I mean, in my opinion, I think as things stand, Felix is better than Sinner, I would say. And then when I did bring up the head to head, people said that's not really. Some people who, in a way, they said Wesley leads Djokovic 2-0. So that should mean Wesley. But I mean, that's really not an apples to apples comparison, because I'm only bringing in the head to head because they're so neck to neck, these two players.
Yeah.
And obviously that's a pretty important factor to see how they match up against each other. Felix, he comfortably beat him in Madrid. Sure, I think Yannick wasn't 100% there, probably. I'm not sure, but that was
like
not
1
even
and 2.
close.
Yeah, it was a weird match. Really weird match.
And that comeback at Cincinnati, he played. I mean, that passage of tennis from the second set tiebreaker all the way to the end of the match. I think Felix just really hit a purple patch there. So yeah, I think it's fair to say that he is better than. Obviously, Alcaraz is still ahead of all of them comfortably. Sure, I wouldn't say Felix is better than Carlos if when he is about to go 3-0 up on the head to head, because he doesn't have a big title. Carlos has 3 of them. One Grand Slam and a couple of Masters titles. So
it's just about matchup again, and it depends on the conditions you play in. Felix seriously is incredible at playing indoor hardcourt tennis. Alcaraz not so much. He's not even had that much experience with it either, right? I mean, you need a good serve to be good indoors. That's why you've got Alexander Bublik like second in the field for most indoor hardcourt wins this year. Like, you would not have expected it, but yeah, Bublik's right up there. Rublev as well, he delivers the first serve well enough that he can set up his
Bublik's
forehand.
another player Felix beat comfortably, right? Like 2 and 3. That was match before.
Seriously wild. Exactly. Like results like that are crazy.
Yeah. So again, Bublik, he did win a title at Montpellier, if I'm not wrong. And he beat Zverev in the final. And he has the game to be really dangerous indoors.
Yeah.
Takes a really good returner and solid player overall to beat him, especially that comfortably. So yeah, I think
great point there, by the way, from Alcaraz to could we be seeing an
Alcaraz
come
nothing
back?
less from Carlos now. But what I'm a little concerned by is that usually Carlos, even at this point in the match, where he's clearly losing, he would look at his box and like sort of do some fist bumps.
Get himself pumped up. Exactly.
Some mauling and a half, I would say.
Again, let's not count him out quite yet. I've done the same.
I'm still treading really carefully with this
I've made the same mistake with Rafa, I was going to say, and you're just, as soon as you count him out, that's when he turns it on. I would imagine, given the last couple of points, Carlos is going to try and move forward, force Felix maybe to just come up with a few more angles or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a second serve to work with here at 15:30. Oh, that's it. That was poor. He'll not be happy with that. He completely ballooned the backhand return long. Maybe it's just one of those days, Carlos.
Not really a miss he should be making.
I don't really know how to let him off for that one,
I won't. Still 2 points. Felix could do a match point up, and I can still envision Alcaraz breaking him back and probably even holding to love, something like that. 30 all. Let's see what happens here.
Yeah, I'll talk you through this one. First serve out wide, ace. Great. I mean, I did honestly. That's probably his go-to in the juice court. I think it's his best serve. The slider out
Yeah,
wide.
really.
Seriously impressive.
I mean, the one down the tee from the ad side is up there as well. I mean, that's kind of bread and butter for right-handed
Right-handers,
players,
yeah,
right?
of course.
Going out wide. I mean, Federer was so good at going down the tee even from both sides. Really, like you could never tell where he's going. He doesn't look up until the ball has gone up. Even while tossing the ball up, he looks at the player. So deceptive. Okay, match point. Talk us through this one.
Yeah, I'll let you know. Felix almost gets the ace out wide, however misses. So second serve. Will Carlos do his usual on match point? I would expect nothing less. Here we go. Second serve for Felix. Carlos very deep in the court, by the way, for this return.
Oh, interesting.
Forehand inside out. Yeah, it gets another forehand inside in. It's good enough to force the error. And it's back to deuce. Or two deuce for the first time, I should say. Yeah, I mean, very Carlos, isn't it? Putting together a couple of massive forehands.
I don't know if Felix's service game has gone to deuce before this in this match, has it?
Yeah, potentially not. In fact, no, definitely not, actually, because he hadn't faced break point. Right?
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, no, yeah, it still could have went to deuce, of course. What am I talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It happened with Novak in Astana against Tsitsipas. He didn't go to deuce until the very last game. Let's see what happens here.
I'll talk us through it again. Yeah, again, it's not really like Carlos to take up such a deep return position, so it's quite an interesting note to make. He's willing to start rallies more so than be aggressive. Sort of a la Casper Ruud is one player I can think of that does that. Yeah, it's not Carlos's style, so just really interesting to see him taking up that tactical difference or change even. Yeah, backhand cross court from Carlos. Felix does the same. In fact, I think he's pushed it wide, so it's the first break point of the match. We could be seeing an epic in play here, Shad. I don't know.
I don't know if I can take that, honestly. But yeah, let's see what happens here. Interesting. Would have obviously been a statement win for Felix if he won without even facing a break point. But I mean,
he's had plenty. To be fair, he's had plenty recently. So Carlos would have been a lovely one to get. But okay, of course he's going to get at least one break point, right? First serve for Felix. I'll talk us through this break point. Goes for the first serve out wide. Just a little bit of a dip in first serves made. Now has a second serve. Carlos continuing to return from deep. Potentially just to get the rally started. Second serve. Out wide to Carlos's backhand. Goes down the middle. Felix with a forehand inside out. Carlos gets a backhand cross court and pushes it wide. Must be absolutely livid with himself. Does look angry, actually, yeah. So back to deuce. Felix didn't do much there. He just kept the ball.
Yeah, he didn't.
Oh, it wasn't far.
Seemingly a bit tight now, Felix. So, but then again.
That's very true from Ghost. It's the only thing he couldn't do.
I agree. Okay, maybe one thing he was bad at losing from match points up. If I were to pick at something, but yeah, that's just for the sake of it. I don't even think like. I mean, pretty much for as many matches he's lost from match points up, he's won them. It's like 24 that he's won from match points down.
Yeah, that's true.
A match point, that's a good forehand inside out from Felix.
It's great. I mean,
pretty much his bread and butter again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I really need to stress that serve and forehand combo, the best in the business. There is very few. Tsitsipas is another one. Maybe I would argue Felix's is still better in these conditions. I don't think
this year he's been better. I would say yes. Steph usually, he's one of the best when it comes to the 1-2 punch. His forehand, it's okay.
And
I won't.
Sorry, serve down the tee, unreturnable. Felix wins against Carlos.
Okay, that statement win. That was something really from Felix.
Got to be the most one-sided loss of Carlos's career, right?
So yeah,
professional career, maybe.
Probably. Of course, there was the match against Nadal in Madrid last year, but Right. Okay. This year, we'll say. I mean, it's pretty much played so much tennis this year that you could just count this year alone as his entire career, right? He's not. He
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
play as much last year. 2020 played like a couple of matches. I remember that match in Rio against Ramos Vignolas that he won on debut. He was 16 at the
yeah. That
time.
was
But
it.
okay, this was really a statement win from Felix. Alcaraz obviously just did not. I don't think he even showed up much today.
Again, though, you like, and that's that's what you wanted to stress as well. Sherry, you were saying Felix, don't underrate him. I really
Mhm.
think he is really, from what I saw in that second set, should be held responsible for a lot of how that match went. Carlos maybe didn't turn up as well as he could have, but the ease with which Felix was able to hold his serve against one of the best returners of the new generation, seriously,
Yep, sure.
seriously impressive.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, notwithstanding how Carlos played, Felix was just fantastic today. I mean, he could have easily gotten nervous, break point down. Alcaraz, especially, he's made a habit of coming back from such positions this year. But, he kept his cool. Favorite for Turin, I don't know yet. Uh, well, maybe if he wins Bercy or if he gets another big scalp there, could be. But, I mean, yeah, he's.
It's not the favorite for me yet.
Yeah,
Definitely,
not for me
he's
yet either. I would still shudder to, um, you know.
Novak looks like he's on a mission. To be honest,
Yep.
as soon as he got to Astana, he barely put a foot wrong. The other
Mhm.
tournament he played Tel Aviv right before that. It just looks like he could roll Paris without much of a without blinking really. And it was like I remember after the US Open last year, he pretty much did that, right? We kind of thought he'd been a bit jaded by that loss to Medvedev, losing out on history, and then turns up to Paris and he puts on an absolute
Yeah,
clinic, serve and
yeah,
volley clinic against Medvedev. It was great.
yeah. The
Um,
match started out. I mean, Medvedev got broken back, and okay, he did end up clinching that 6-4 set, fourth 6-4 in a row at that point. And then Novak, yeah, he just started to play so much better. He hit through the ball, better as well. We could probably see what Novak would have been fully capable of if he was not under so much pressure in the U.S. Open final. Not so overwhelmed in that occasion. But yeah, I think semi-final as well against Hurkacz. Hurkacz played one of his best matches, still came up just a bit short. Uh,
yeah,
so yeah, I think he played really well. Just it took Zverev to playing at such a high level to beat both him and Medvedev back to back. But
yeah,
yeah, I don't think Djokovic didn't do too much wrong against Zverev either. Just Zverev was just that good that
yeah. He was
entire.
great that day, and it was a very close match, right? I think
Yeah,
Djokovic
only
had
that
set point.
first set point. I mean, the only set point in the first set is something I would sort of maybe go back to. Novak was a bit passive there. I think he had a look at the second serve of Zverev. Um,
The one thing I would point out, I suppose, is a lot of the times Novak has lost at the ATP finals. Now, this is more of a observation than a real theory. I think it would be coincidental if it happened again, but still, it's worth noting. When he's losing at the ATP finals, he tends to be losing to somebody from the next gen, right? We're thinking about Zverev beating him. We're thinking of, I can't think of any other losses actually.
it
I'm
was
pretty sure it's
Medvedev in 2020 and team, of course.
team. Yeah, team.
Yeah, team back to back. Zverev also beat him twice, although not back to back. He did lose, and when they played in 2020, I think that was quite comfortable for Novak in the round robin. That was like knockout match for who would go through to the semis.
Yeah, it was like
Uh,
4-2 maybe.
yeah, it was 3-6 there.
I'm thinking of a different match. Yeah, yeah.
3-6. Yeah, Medvedev obviously he just completely routed Djokovic. I think Novak he just wasn't ready for another physical battle against Daniil, and Daniil just ran over. Um,
Yeah.
but
So yeah, my point was going to be anyway. The new guard tend to beat. They have beaten Novak recently in the ATP finals. It would be quite poetic if Felix was another one of those players to do that.
yeah, it really would be.
Yeah.
I mean,
How,
yeah, John also touched up on this a couple of days ago. How is when Zverev, Tsitsipas, and Medvedev the first time champions consecutively from 18 to 20. If Felix does that, it really wouldn't be out of sequence. I would say it's quite. I think Zverev was 21 when he won it first. Same with Steph. Steph was 21. Yeah, he was
Yeah, he
21.
was. Yeah.
Um,
Because I remember
Medvedev
he
obviously
could
a
have
bit
went to
older,
Milan that year.
23-ish, 24. Yeah, Medvedev was 24. Obviously, Medvedev sort of blossomed a little later compared to his contemporaries. So that's, still, quite young.
Yeah.
Felix 22. So, yeah.
So yeah, it would be right on time, surely.
Yeah. I mean, Rude is another player I would, he's sort of hit a slump right now.
Yeah.
A few losses that are not really good. I mean, obviously Medvedev, I spoke about this after he lost to Wawrinka. I said I hope this is the 2022 version of him losing to Anderson in Vienna 2 years ago, and then going unbeaten all the way until the Australian Open final. And again, sort of a player in the twilight of his career. Anderson, Wawrinka as well. Now he's 37.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, he's played really well. Could have won a standoff not for that injury. He had Novak,
Definitely. I thought he was the favourite in that
dead,
match.
dead to rights, like 2 points away, and then he feels a click. His adductor. It's really unfortunate. Could have won. But he's back where he left off. Much like the U.S. Open last year, he had that injury against Rublev running into the camera, and he ended up crashing out. That had no effect. He went on to win the U.S. Open. So he's playing some really scary tennis for the rest of the tour at this point. And he has obviously been plotting to get revenge on Nadal. That could be possible if they do play. Especially
always an epic though. Always an epic every single time. So
yep, it is pretty much. I mean, it's 5-1 for Nadal, but that doesn't really tell the story of how much of a seesaw there. All of their matches pretty much have been, except for two, the Acapulco semis.
Even Acapulco wasn't a seesaw, but even Acapulco was high quality. Like the level that Rafa brought to that match was superb. I
11 break points that
match.
Medvedev had. He didn't convert one of them. So yeah,
exactly.
That's true.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how it goes. If we just close with how Felix who Felix will be facing in the latter stages of this tournament, it would be Rune or RBA. I imagine that match will go the way of Rune, the way he's been playing recently. He shouldn't be too troubled by by RBA's backhand, I should say. In a Felix-Rune matchup, is that the first meeting? What do you think, Srihari?
Really interesting because Felix in this form, he really should be beating Rune, but then again, Rune has been really playing the role of a party pooper quite a bit this year. Beating Steph at RG, beating Zverev in Munich, and of course beating Steph again in Stockholm. Quite unexpected. I did have Steph winning that match. So yeah, he does have the belief. I don't know how he's gonna match up to Felix dynamics wise, but Felix goes in as a favorite for sure. And even if RBA does show up, I would expect him to beat him as well. So I think Felix is the favorite, of course. A little bit of I think it's 50-50 between him, Rune, and RBA, because I could see that going all the way. The end of the deciding set. Maybe RBA could, pull out of it as the victor, just through experience. But I would say if I were to pick, I think Holger Rune should be winning that, and we'll have a pretty exciting final, in Basel. So let's see. I'm pretty excited. Just considering the landscape of men's tennis and how it's shifting to the 2000s born players and how they're rising up the ranks. We saw
it's great.
All three of them winning a title: Musetti, Felix, and Holger Rune last week at the 250 level, of course. And then of course Felix in the final again, playing another player born in the 2000s. And we also had Yannick Sinner, who's had sort of an up and down year, but mostly a pretty encouraging season. And of course Musetti winning a couple of titles. So I'm pretty excited for that final if it were to happen.
Yeah, it'll be amazing. It'll be one of the best in years, and certainly the most high-profile players, I would say, in years where 4 years ago people didn't really know who the finalists were, I guess, and now it's like everybody. They're almost all of them are in the top 100. So it'll be great. If I was going to touch on the Felix Rune matchup just before we leave, for me, because I really do think Rune should be considered not the heavy favourite, but the favourite for that match. So assuming he does go through, I would still give Felix the edge in quite a few departments, actually. I don't think Steph covers his serve indoors as well as Felix does. Statistically, he definitely doesn't, but just from observation as well, I feel like that's the case. I feel like Holger Rune's ability to get out of some sticky situations with drop shots may not work as well against Felix as other players like Medvedev, like Ruud, like players that like to sit deeper in the court, because Felix hugs the baseline really well. A lot of the time he's taking that forehand inside in like a half volley. Like he really does. He takes up a pretty aggressive position when he's rallying from the back of the court. So that wouldn't work against him. Backhand as well. I mean, that could be something that Rune could use to his advantage. I suppose the Felix backhand is still pretty sturdy. It's maybe the only advantage I can think of, and I don't think it would be enough indoors. Basically, I think Felix should continue to hold his serve, should get into enough Rune return games to make it sticky. I would imagine Felix is the favourite to in that match by a fair bit. You really don't underrate him. That's what I keep trying to say.
Yeah, likewise. Great. I think Felix should come out of this as the victor. Especially I think this match in a way decided who's gonna end up winning this title between Felix and Carlos. We had a pretty outright winner there. So like
you're still trying to process that 3-2 against Carlos Alcaraz. Jesus.
Yeah, I know. It's just an unreal performance, and Paris Bercy with the draw it has should be really interesting. And again, I think with as far as Fritz goes, that loss to Shapovalov really hurt his chances. Not just the fact that he cannot make up for so much ground points wise, but Felix playing the way he's playing and going as deep as he's going in these tournaments consecutively, you'd expect the same. Of course, he's in Medvedev's quarter in Bercy. That again, we could have another cracker of a quarterfinal, very much like their Australian Open match. Hopefully not something like the ATP Cup semi-final where it was just absolute thrashing for Medvedev.
That was a superb match from Medvedev, I should say. That was seriously good.
Yeah, it was. So if the Australian Open quarterfinals is anything to go by, I think that would be an epic. I wouldn't rule out Felix beating him, if he is to play as well as he is. Now, all it takes is, a slight dip in level from Medvedev. But yeah, again, I think, I don't know which section of the draw Fritz is in, but looks very unlikely at this point that, Felix is going to be somehow dislodged, from being the 7th player to qualify for the tournament. So yeah, I think the final few weeks of the season shaping up, to be blockbuster ones, both of the big tournaments. And I really hope we don't have a situation like 2012 or like 2017 where you would have a first-time Masters winner in Bercy. I really hope. Not exactly a first-time Masters winner. Obviously, there's some really good players on the tour who have not won a Masters title yet. You do have a few players in the top 10 as well. But
I was going to say, as an unbiased party, it's hard not to be disappointed by Jack Sock winning the Paris Masters.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you've got
that had no significance,
exactly.
In the scheme of events. And Ferrer winning it, at least, was a long time coming. This guy was contending with, the big four in their prime, guys like Del Potro, Berdych, and Soderling and Tsonga. All of these players. I mean, as far as if you were to say weapons, they have a lot more than Ferrer has going on for his game. And he still was able to contend with them and even beat them on occasion. So that was not really disappointing, but, at least, and we could have a tournament like that in a season like 2012, where it was blockbuster from start to finish. You had the big four winning, each of the slams. But yeah, Jack Sock, I hope that situation doesn't repeat. And, like you mentioned, as
catching up as well, surely would have been disappointing for yourself. Sure.
For me, yes. But, I did.
But in a grander scheme thing, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, during the Astana match, it definitely, like each time they play, it's more and more evident that match was such a one-off. Yeah. That final, like Djokovic and Khachanov, especially indoors. I mean, I do recall Djokovic having an illness during the entire tournament. He was under the flu or something, under the weather with the flu. So yeah, that kind of explains in a way. I mean, he played so well against Federer for the scoreline to be 7-6, 5-7,
That was a
7-6.
great match. Yeah, wow.
Yeah, I mean, 0 of 12 break points. You don't see that too often for
Yeah.
Djokovic. So yeah, I think in a way, but at least Khachanov, he's been a top 10 player, much like Sock, of course. But yeah, Sock, I mean, I still don't understand how, like, he was that close to qualifying for the ATP finals. He did so, winning the tournament, and then made the semis as well. I think he
Yeah.
lost to Dimitrov in the
Yeah.
semis there. It was
Yeah,
a three-setter, if
it
I'm
was a
not mistaken.
weird year. Yeah, of course, Dimitrov
Really
winning the
weird. And
title that
Federer
year.
losing the way he did too to
Goffin, right?
Really, yeah. You mean you would think he was the outright favorite at that point, but
Yeah. There's no danger of that, at least at the ATP finals this year. It really is a star-studded lineup. Like, pretty much, everybody that deserves to be there is there.
yeah. And there's some sort of at least I would say silly discourse around people saying that Djokovic should not be there because Wimbledon there were no points to offer. So why? But like maybe if he does win Paris, that
Yeah,
argument would be put to
still.
bed because he'd qualify just by virtue of his points, right?
It's a clutch. It's a clutch.
Yeah.
Any and every year, that's always been the case.
Yes.
Obviously, you're not getting awarded points for Wimbledon, but it's still the case. You win a
Yeah,
slam.
and that was purely political.
Yeah.
It was a power move from ATP in response to Wimbledon just outright banning players from Russia and Belarus. They thought they could strong arm Wimbledon into like redacting that, but they didn't. So that I mean I don't the significance of the tournament, the prestige that is there, for to offer. And of course, it's still a Grand Slam at the end of the day. And I might add, with the one Grand Slam, a lot of players really dream of winning, right? It's a slam like no other in that aspect. Obviously, I don't mean to sound like elitist or anything to those who like perceive it that way. I don't even think that's the case. It's just so special in so many ways. Like winning Wimbledon is winning Wimbledon, regardless of what happened. All of the unfortunate events, I don't think they have any bearing on how significant that title is. It's still a Grand Slam. So yeah, I think, like you said, it is clutching at straws big time. So yeah, that's just like you said, really star-styled lineup. Even if we were to have those players, on one group, that is Nadal, Djokovic, Felix, and Medvedev, the other group would be strong as well. You'd have Alcaraz, Rublev, Rude, and who's the other one? Yeah, why am I?
Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head.
Wait,
There's somebody obvious we're missing, right?
yeah, somebody obvious.
I gotta know now, and I'm sure our listeners also want to know.
Tsitsipas.
Steph. Oh my god,
Yeah, why?
that
Like,
says it all, right? That says it all about his season.
His name shouldn't be escaping my memory, but
Exactly, yeah.
yeah, but
Poor
Tsitsipas, yeah,
Steph.
again, so many good matchups there. Steph and Alcaraz, maybe Steph can finally get the better of Carlos.
Yeah.
I would give him the edge there in these conditions.
Yeah, maybe with the serve.
Yeah.
I'd call it 50-50, to be honest, because
Yeah,
honestly,
50-50 just because of the matchup. But
yeah,
Steph should. I mean, if there's a chance for him to beat Carlos, I don't think there's a better one.
Yeah.
And Rublev and Tsitsipas always been even throughout. It's like 6-4 in Tsitsipas's favor, but a lot of their matches really close, especially the one in 2020 that they played, where obviously went to a third set tiebreaker. Rublev having double fault. I'm having match point, double faulting. So yeah, and Rude and Alcaraz, I think they can, they showed at the US Open and in, parts of the Miami final that, they can produce a really good match themselves. So yeah, I think it's really excited, like I said, for the ATP finals.
So am I. I think that's a good note to close on, Fury, because we've definitely been sidelined a little bit after the match. Although I figured, why not? The match was that short that we might as well extend the length of the video a little bit.
Yeah, we should definitely do this again. It was our first time, but I had a lot of fun, chatting with you. It didn't really feel like, we're speaking for the first time, I should say. So like,
likewise.
It was a lot of fun. Should do this again.
Yeah,
maybe one of these days. Who knows?
Yeah, likewise for you here. So hopefully see you on here soon. For all our listeners, thank you very much for tuning in to Talking Tennis. This has been Felix v Carlos, with Felix winning. We'll catch you next time for another match. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Cheers.